I am not good at making things with my hands. When I was in school and we had to make things out of paper mache, all the students and the teachers would look at what I made and they'd be like, "Okay, what is that?" I think the best thing I ever made in art was Stonehenge, and I thought, I'm going to make Stonehenge because the rocks are all uneven and it'll be easy to do. So those guys on YouTube that create these amazing hyper photorealistic castles out of scratch, that's not me. I'm not that guy. And that's probably good because I'm assuming that most people aren't those types of guys either. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some really easy ways to create some props for D&D that requires virtually no skill, no time, and no money. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you guys is this fort, which is made out of styrofoam. And the way this works is you can find something that looks fort-like from any kind of packing material. If you buy a new television or a new DVD player or a PlayStation, and it comes, wrapped in this type of foam. And if it looks like something to you, it could be a wall or it could be a house. You can use this as a Dungeons and Dragons prop. I should warn you that if you're going to spray paint styrofoam, you have to do it from a distance. The first time I did this, I didn't know that, and the spray paint actually melted the styrofoam. So you want to kind of make sure you have maybe 3 or 4 feet of distance away from the styrofoam and kind of go over it lightly until the whole thing is black. And then you take a sponge, typically a finer sponge if you want to get more detail, and you dip the sponge in some white paint. It could be any kind of white paint. Cheap white paint is fine. And then you just go over the whole thing with sponging white paint on it until you get this nice gray texture. Okay, so right now, as you can see, the fort doesn't really look like much. But if you just add a few more accessories, then you can easily create the illusion that this is something more than just packing material. The first thing that I find really enhances this is a door. Now these are pretty basic. You can probably find these on Amazon. There's different companies that make these. You can just take a little knife and you can scrape out the shape of the door, and then you can just fit it in there, and then there you have a door. So once you add a door to the fort, it looks more fort-like. So as you can see on the inside, you can add different accessories like a barrel, a little weapon rack here. Of course, you got to get your knights, and my favorite is you get this ladder going up to the second level. So once you add accessories, it starts looking more and more like a fort. Okay, so now this is an ancient Greek house that I made. I actually got the idea for doing this when I visited a museum in France, and I saw that the ancient Egyptian children used to play Dungeons and Dragons, and they made their props out of clay. You can go to pretty much any hobby store like Hobby Lobby, pick up 5 pounds of clay, and you can make quite a few houses like this. And what I really like about this is that if you're not really good at working with clay, if you have a hard time making straight edges and straight lines and stuff, it actually works in your favor. The unevenness here, the roughness in the texture, all of this actually adds to the realism. And the way I did this is I basically cut out four walls, basically just 4 rectangles. 2 of them, of course, had to be roughly parallel. Then I kind of stitched them together, and then I went over it You can actually go over it with like something with a texture to give it a little bit of texture if you want. But I went over it with an off-white paint color, and then I just painted very lightly this blue stripe at the bottom because that was a look that the ancient Greeks had. I also made sure to cut out these windows. If you want to give it that extra touch of realism, you can add a door from a company that makes miniature doors. And if you cut it precisely, it fits pretty well right in there, okay? And then you can also make a roof using basic materials, but I was too lazy to do that, so I went to Hobby Lobby and I actually got this roof tile that they actually sell, and I just cut it to size, and there you go. There's your ancient Greek house. An old technique that I've been using for making props for D&D, and that is using Legos. And Legos are incredibly versatile, as you know. And I think they're really good if you want to make something that has very flat and even walls. Something like a temple that's really well designed, like this. This is meant to be a small shrine dedicated to the god Poseidon. But I think the technique for working with Legos is not just to limit yourself to the actual Legos you have on hand. As you can see here, I've actually added a variety of elements to complete this look. So, for example, I used these columns, which again, you can actually buy at a hobby store. These are actually designed as cake toppers. So if you can find something like this, it doesn't need to be a Greek temple, of course, but you can find an accessory that easily fits in with the Lego that works out. The interior images of this temple are actually little things I found online, little pictures of ancient Greek patterns and artwork. And I just, printed them out and just stuck them to the walls there. I just happen to have here a little chess piece of a Greek god. This is Poseidon here. So you can just put Poseidon in there. There you go. Now you have a little idol. And of course, you want to add some miniatures. I just happen to have a ancient Greek Spartan guy over there. That'll give you a sense of the scale, and a woman that can perhaps be doing some sort of offering to the god. The only downside is that you really need to have lots and lots and lots of Legos in order to make something of a decent size. So if you want to do something like a dungeon with lots and lots of rooms, it's kind of hard to do that if you have to only use Legos. Okay, now finally, as a little bonus, I wanted to show off, this is actually a Viking Mega Bloks ship, and I turned it into a Greek type ship. I have this custom sail that I made basically from a knitting cloth that I got from Hobby Lobby, and then I printed out a stencil of an owl from the internet, and then we used white fabric markers to apply the owl image to the sail. If you want to use Legos to make something, but you don't want it to have that plastic look, what you can do is you can use Mod Podge and paint to change the way it looks, the texture. So if you look very closely here, you can see that this texture does not resemble plastic. It looks more like aged wood, and the way I did that is I basically went over the whole ship using clear Mod Podge, and then I went over it again with a similar wooden color, like a basic brown color, Made sure my paint was a little thicker so that it would create a bit of a surface area there. And then I went over with a lighter color. You can look really carefully. I dry brush with a lighter color to create that aged look. And so that's another really cool thing you can do using Legos. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing Dungeons and Dragons props like houses and towers and the various types of things that are out there for sale that you can purchase for your table. So please stay tuned for that. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe.